Hello everyone and welcome back to The Broken Past. Today is a very special day for The Broken Past. Today we are celebrating achieving 1,000 subscribers on this channel. To me that's just amazing, and I could not have done that without you, your support, your subscriptions, and your interest in the channel. From the bottom of my heart, I do want to say thank you for being here and for supporting the channel throughout its growth. We've come a long way since we started a little over a year or so ago, and I'm looking forward to where we're going to go in the future. Now, before we take a look at the Gameboys that I was teasing in the intro video, let's take a real quick run through all that we've done so far on the channel. I've laid most of it out on the table here. I actually had to raise the camera up as high as I could go, so that way I could be able to see all of it fit within this area here, and I still had to squeeze it in and overlap some of it. So really quickly, I want to go through the videos that we've already released so far and just take a quick look back on what we've done. To start off with, the first video we did was swapping the battery on one of these Game Boy Color cartridges. The video itself wasn't the greatest. The audio that I used was bad, so I tried dubbing back over it later. Didn't turn out the greatest, not a whole lot of views, but you know, it started the channel, and it was kind of fun to do anyway. So it was the first video that got the channel out there so people could see it. Now after that, the next video was doing the Game Boy macro. So I had thought that I had painted this in a follow-on video, but actually it was a different one that I painted. So this was the original DS Lite that we converted into a Game Boy macro. The video for this really is what started the channel. So far, it's my highest viewing video out of all of them. You know, a lot of people still don't like making macros ruining DS Lites, and I understand that too. But this has started it off, and this was a lot of fun to do, a lot of work. Hopefully this has been helpful to those of you who since then have been trying to convert a broken DS Lite into a Game Boy macro. After that, we did our first fixer flop video where I took another DS Lite and tried to fix it. And since that point, I've obviously started converting this into a macro. I haven't finished the rest of the process yet. This was a successful fix. If I remember right, it had an issue with the motherboard. There were some soldering issues, but adding a little bit of padding to straighten it out took care of it. And again, since then, obviously, it's been converted to a macro, or at least to the start of a full macro project. After that was the second most popular video on the channel, which was doing a reshell of the DS Lite. Overall, this has turned out pretty well. I really like how the DS Lite looks in this Zelda shell. You know, like I said, it was the second most popular video, so hopefully this has been helpful to people as well. Following that, we replaced the original DS screen. If you remember, the original one had sort of a chickenpox screen cancer going on the top. So we swapped that off of another original Nintendo DS. And moving on, we did a similar shell swap, except this time it was with a DSi. Swapped out a pretty gross white shell. You can still see I didn't replace the digitizer, but we swapped it out with this aftermarket black shell. So yeah, overall, it turned out pretty well with an aftermarket shell. Definitely like the feel of the DSi's. Moving on next, we moved to a slightly newer console with a screen swap for a 2DS. Love these things. I've done a lot of these since, and I'm pretty sure this is the one that I did in that video. I just had a broken screen. I've actually got a spare screen, so I've been looking for another broken one of these to swap out that screen for as well. The next one we did in a series of a couple videos, and that was fixing this broken original Game Boy that we got in the mail. Turned out not to be the one that I had ordered. Cleaned up really nice. I ended up doing a aftermarket backlight mod to it, screwed it up, made another video, fixed it. But yeah, this thing's been working great since I did those repairs to it as well. Yeah, overall, very happy with how this one turned out. Next up, we did a tutorial on making a Game Boy Macro XL from an original Nintendo DS. Obviously didn't go through on this one, cleaning up all of the hinges and all that kind of stuff. This was just more of a real quick tutorial since there had been a lot of views on the DS Lite to Game Boy Macro video. This one wasn't quite as popular, but there are still some good views on this, so hopefully this has been able to be helpful for some of you who had some of these that might have had the broken hinge or the similar, you know, screen cancer kind of thing that just wanted to still get some sort of use out of it. And if you'll recall, the Game Boy Advance SP that we did the swap on, previously it had this, I think it was a red color one that was on here before, and they had painted it with like a gold fingernail polish or some sort of acrylic paint for it. It looked really bad, so we swapped that out with a nice aftermarket NES shell. And in doing so, I also managed to cut up my fingers pretty well in that video. But, you know, they've since healed. Everything's been fine. Still love how well this one turned out. Definitely a fan of this NES shell on these Game Boy Advances. The next video was reshelling of a regular Game Boy Advance. This one was actually a two-part series because my most recent video, we then took this and converted it, or replaced the screen with a IPS backlit screen. Definitely love this. Probably one of my favorite consoles that I've done so far. It's been this, both the reshell and then the new screen, because it just feels so nice to play and it looks gorgeous at night. Huge fan of this one. Next up, we fixed the burned polarizer on the back of this. If you'll remember, the whole screen looked black because the polarizer had gotten burned sitting out in the sun, something like that. It's also really dusty. Sat out in the sun, cleaned it off, put a new polarizer on, took care of that. And this thing works great as well. Pretty easy fix. I think if I remember right, it was the screens. I bought like a 10 pack for $5. So I still have 9 more polarizers to replace on these. So I need to find some more of these and fix those too. And we had a real quick video on just cleaning up this guy. Pretty easy, came in pretty clean. Just had a little bit of cleanup I needed to do on the volume, power. I think maybe the battery contacts. I don't remember for sure. So yeah, cleaned up really nice and looks really good on display. So I'm super happy with this one too. And then we revisited the Game Boy macro from a DS Lite project again, this time taking what I thought was the original one, ended up being a different one that I had fixed, and went through the process of painting it. Overall, I'm pretty happy with how well this turned out. You can still see, I'm not sure if it'll show in the video. Overall, I didn't do the greatest job bondoing. I'm definitely not a bondo expert, but overall, the bondo plus the paint and the feel for it and everything else, I think it turned out pretty well. I was pretty happy with one of my first attempts at bondo and full-on paint job on this. So I do like how this turned out. But after I made this video, I ended up taking a pretty long break, I guess, from YouTube for a while. I had a lot of stuff going on, was really busy, and didn't have time to get back to making any more videos. But when I came back, we ended up taking another broken DS Lite. It had a broken screen, broken hinge, and this time converted it into a Game Boy macro using Boxy Pixels aluminum faceplate. This I was super happy with. Definitely going back to this. Much happier with how well this turned out compared to painting and bondoing this. So love this. I play this quite often, even more so than going back to the Game Boy Advance. Kind of hop back and forth between these two, but this just feels so nice with that aluminum, that hard aluminum faceplate on it. And then we moved on to doing a few more things. We took this Game Boy, this yellow, stinky, musty, crusty Game Boy Color, cleaned it up, took it apart, got it working good as new. Super happy with this. It sits on display right next to the teal Game Boy Color. So I'm looking for the other colors so I can fill out a display with all of the colors. And lastly, not including the Game Boy Advance that we already showed, we took a look at 2 of these atomic purple Game Boy Colors. One of them we got working, the other one we did not. I've taken it apart a few more times since then to go after it again. Really can't tell what's going on. It almost seems like there's a short in there somewhere. I don't know. I probably don't care too much at this point. It's just a fun little thing to have out on display. So that about wraps up everything we've had up until where we are now. There's one more mod that I did, which I actually don't have a video on, and that is doing a screen swap / case swap on a PSP. I ended up not doing a video on this. I did the whole project. It took me probably way too long. I hadn't actually done a screen swap before. I recorded the whole thing, but I just was not happy with how it turned out in the end, so I didn't make a video. I've seen a few people comment wanting to do a PSP shell swap repair. Maybe if I can grab another one down the road, maybe I will. If we go back to my 50 sub video, I believe it was, I had a black one of these out there, and that's what I actually used to replace with this aftermarket shell. It turned out okay. Buttons are a little mushy. Actually ended up having to drill out a hole down here because the inner shell didn't have a hole for this screw. So it wasn't the greatest shell, and I did something wrong. The UMD drive still works, but it doesn't read the discs at all. So I probably messed something up in there, but I did this, didn't do a video, but I guess it was added to the collection. If there's interest, let me know, and like I said, I can try to make a video down the road. Not going to be very thorough because I'm not, I'm not the greatest at doing it. But if you want to walk through something, walk along with, and watch me struggle with it, I can maybe look at doing a video for that too. So we have now reached 1,000 subscribers. In celebration of 1,000 subscribers, I have purchased a lot of broken, beat up, destroyed Nintendo Game Boys. These all, according to the eBay listing, were all in a condition unsuitable for sale. I'm assuming in their store. I don't know if this was sold by, a gaming store or something like Salvation Army trying to sell them or what. But here we have 7 Nintendo Game Boys ready to be hopefully repaired. If not, they'll be combined hopefully into at least one working Game Boy when we're all done. And as you can tell, these are all in a variety of different conditions. Some of them, like this one, has a back as well as the plug for the expansion connector. Some of these don't have a back, have a really scratched up screen. Others don't even have a screen at all, as well as significant yellowing to it. This one's also got a lot of yellowing. You can tell, you know, if we take two of these together, you can clearly see how yellowed one of these has gotten compared to the other one. So I have yet to look at any of these. I don't know if any of them work. I don't know if they're all broken. This one looks like, I'm thinking that might be a crack in the shell. Maybe not. But that's okay. I'd love to get these all working, get them all cleaned up. Even some of these that are yellow, clean them up and try to whiten them and restore their original color. If not, the goal might be to buy some aftermarket shells, as well as potentially buying some of the new IPS displays to swap out with these. I did look at one of these, this one right here. I'm not sure how well it's going to show in the video. Probably going to get reflection, but there's a lot of the screen cancer dying around the edge of this one. So this one might be a good candidate to replace with one of the IPS screens. So we'll see what happens with that. But for the remainder of this video, what I want to do is I want to take a look at each of these Game Boys and just get an idea of what we have to work with, and then know going forward what we're going to do for the next one to couple videos, and see if we can get all these working again. So let's start by taking a look at these and seeing what we have to work with. So what I think we're going to do at this point is go through these one at a time, put some batteries in them, see what's wrong, and then label them with a sticky note, so that way we can go back through them when we're all done and see what we have to work with. So let's begin. So we're going to start with the one that appears to be in the best condition. Clearly we can see that there's a bunch of dust and dirt and stuff in there. I don't know what that is. We've got a little bit of marker there, not a huge deal. But we do have a battery cover, but we can see there is some corrosion in this one. So let's grab some batteries. And let's see if it turns on. So the first one, it doesn't boot at all. All right. So we'll label this one. Moving on to number 2. This one appears to have no corrosion in there. There's a lot of, so I thought this one had no corrosion, but we can look in here and there is a ton of blue in there. So this one definitely looks like it has a lot of corrosion on the board. And the screen is all scratched up. But let's put some batteries in it and try it out. Wow. So this one seems to work despite the large amount of blue corrosion in there. Okay. On to number 3. So this one looks pretty good on the battery terminals. It's got a lot of scratches and scuffs that might be able to clean off. It might just be something sticky that was on the back. So let's try this one out. Nothing. Oh, we got a little bit of a connection issue. But we do have audio and video. So this one looks to be in good shape. We just have a little bit of a connection issue on the batteries, so that's good news. All right, number 4. This one is clearly missing screen lens. It does have a back battery cover. There's a little bit of corrosion on those terminals. Well, let's try this one out. And this one does not appear to want to boot. And moving on to number 5. This one looks pretty clean on the inside. Looks pretty clean on the outside too. I'm not sure how well it shows. They've got some tape holding this lens cover in, so apparently the glue's dried up and so it's fallen off, but that's not a big deal. We can fix that. Oh, let's try it out. Nope. Works. And we have audio too. So we can tell on this one that the contrast wheel needs a little bit of cleaning, but also we have a lot of dead vertical lines on both sides, but we can fix that. So good news on this one. Moving on to number 6. This one also has a battery cover. A little bit of corrosion on the battery terminals. The board itself seems good. Obviously it's missing the lens. It's got a lot of yellowing to the body, and there's some pixel rot on this display as well. But let's try it out and see if it boots. And this one does not appear to want to boot. Okay. And last but not least is number 7. This one appears to be probably in the most rough shape out of all of them. A lot of yellowing to the body. The screen itself looks pretty good, but we have a lot of corrosion on the battery terminals as well. And of course the body is pretty scuffed up and dirty all around, but let's try it out. So far we have 3 that boot and 3 that don't. So let's see what this one does. Power switch feels pretty gross. I don't know if there's something in there. And it is not booting, which is kind of to be expected based on some of the corrosion on those battery terminals. All right. And so here we are. Out of 7 of them, 4 of them don't boot. They've all got a variety of different problems. But we do have 3 that successfully boot. One of them just appears to have some loose terminals, one that also has a terminal issue, as well as a dirty contrast wheel and some vertical lines, and the other one that has a lot of corrosion but appears to boot just fine. So I think this is a good point to end the video here. In the next video, we're going to pick up where we left off. We'll probably take a look at what we need to do to try to fix these 3 Game Boys. And then after that, we'll start taking a look at these other ones that don't even want to boot at all and try to see what's wrong and see what we also need to do to get them up and running. I'd also like to take a look at doing an IPS mod on one of these Game Boys as well. So yeah, I think this is a good time to stop. Once again, thank you so much for your subscriptions. Thank you so much for your support and your views of these videos. I could not have done it without you, and I appreciate all the comments. I read every comment. I love responding to your comments and answering your questions, giving feedback where I can. So thank you so much for watching, and I'm looking forward to seeing where this channel goes in the future. Thanks a lot, and have a great day. Take care, and bye-bye.